Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to an incredible interview with one of my long lost friends, Marci Miller. Marci actually grew up in Indiana. She went to Bethel College, our alma mater. That's a small college in Indiana. And we took the best trip of our lives to Mississippi to help clean up after Hurricane Katrina. I was so glad to find that picture back in my old, oh man, that was hilarious. Okay. But nowadays, a lot of great things have happened. And nowadays, Marci is playing on Days of Our Lives as Abigail. She has 2 consecutive Daytime Emmy Award nominations for Outstanding Lead Actress. And so I wanted to bring her on for a lot of you who might be wanting to get into the art scene, might want to be getting into acting and film, and give you perspective on maybe what it took Marci to get to where she is and help you out a little bit. So, Marci, I did a lot of recent research on you, and it was fun because I thought I knew about you, and I don't, because things have just changed. So I mean, there's just so much that has changed, but there's a lot of interesting things about you, Marci. But one thing, and I have to ask this question: were you really the 4-time state spelling bee champion in high school?
Man, dude, did you get into Spell Bowl at all? Spell Bowl, it wasn't like an individual award, so that's misleading. But yes, man, Spell Bowl, I was always, yep.
It's true. Okay, I lost you for a little while there, but we'll be good. I think they got the idea. So what did you study at Bethel College to get your bachelor's? And a lot of what I want to talk about too is a lot of our students are coming from the Midwest, small towns, and thinking, I don't think I can make it because I'm from this little town. But you went to a small private college. What did you study at Bethel?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you bring that up because that's something I'm actually really passionate about, because I ended up actually studying vocal performance with a musical theater minor was actually what my official degree was, but I'm also from a super tiny town at 1,500 people, and initially went to Bethel as a nursing major. For the first 2 years was going to be a nurse, because it wasn't even a situation where I thought, man, I'd love to be an actor, but oh no, I can't, that's irrational. Like, it literally didn't occur to me because I was from such a small place where there weren't very many people who had done things like that or made career choices like that. So it didn't even occur to me until I was halfway through college, and actually had a couple of professors who sat me down one day and said, you know, we think you could do this if you really wanted to do it. And it took somebody verbally giving me that kind of permission to claim it for myself. So yeah, you can do it. Small town, anywhere. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. You can do it. Absolutely.
So who are some of the people that told you that this could be a potential for you? Were you in plays? Were you singing? I mean, you were in vocal performance, but were you in plays that people said, hey, man, you've got it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because when I came, you know, it's been so much a part of me since the beginning. Since I was young, I was doing piano lessons and ballet lessons, heavily music and theater throughout, you know, elementary and high school. And then when I got to college, it was no different. So I was a proclaimed nursing major, but still participated in the plays and was in the choir. And but they were all electives. They weren't part of my curriculum, my required curriculum. And so after a year and a half of college, I had only taken intro to nursing, and everything else was like music theory, the play, like private voice lessons, private yada 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 yada. So my professors, thankfully, you know, it was one of the benefits of being at a small place, had the time and desire to take a personal interest to some degree, and they were looking at my class schedule and said, okay, if you want to be a nurse, you have to actually start taking nursing classes if you want to ever graduate. But based on the things you're signing up for and the way we're experiencing you and the way you enjoy it and what you're naturally gifted in, it was my private voice teacher, a man named Derek Penix. Oh man, he was so cool, because I remember I came in and it was planned out. Like, he was planning to talk to me about this, and he just pulled a chair out and sat me down. He's like, we're not going to sing today. And he's like, what do you want for your life? And, you know, it was almost by rote, because I had this part I sort of was playing in society because of where I had come from and what I wanted. It's like, I want to be a nurse and I want to, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, what are you good at? Oh, I'm good at being nice. I'm good at being this. And he said, you know, you're also really good at being an actor and being a singer. And that was so huge for me to have somebody validate me in that way, because all this time I did it as a hobby. And I honestly didn't even think of myself as talented in that way, because I didn't look at myself in that way. It was just something I enjoyed doing. So it was really a private voice teacher. And then Bob Ham, who was the choral director, who sort of was somewhat of a father figure for me while I was there at Bethel. Both of these gentlemen have unfortunately passed away, but they were so crucial in my decision making. I left that office with my voice teacher that afternoon and walked straight to the administrative office and changed my major to a voice major. So it was really in one conversation a total pivot point. So
yeah, absolutely.
I can't thank them enough. Yeah.
Well, you're doing a lot of acting, but you're also doing some music as well. I think I saw some things on your YouTube channel. Do you still like getting the guitar out and just jamming out?
A little bit, yeah, I do. And during this time, you know, there's been a lot of downtime, so I've been able to brush up on some of that again. I love the music. You know, it's so much a part of me. Acting is my first love, and it's the direction that my career has sort of fallen in, but that wasn't on purpose. You know, I just said yes to the doors that opened up to me, and things pertaining to acting and theater is, those were the doors I found myself walking through. But I miss it, and I want to do more of the music thing as well. It's if it's a part of you, and you do this too, because I don't know if you still play or do. I remember you as being musically talented as well, so I don't know if you still pick it up. But if it's a part of you, you gotta do it to some extent. You gotta do it.
Right. Yeah, with me, I'm just kind of hitting. I made it it was my full-time job for 15 years doing music, so I'm a little bit burnout. So I'm kind of
yeah, got you.
Yeah. So you talked about some of the experiences that you had at the small college at Bethel. Do you remember any other valuable experiences that like really helped you boost your career other than what you already said?
Yeah, you know, I think the experience of doing it is super important. So everything that I could get involved in just helped me further determine what parts of it I was really good at, what parts of it I was really drawn to, what were the things that I can bring to a team. And, you know, especially if you are from a small place, there's an amount of having to get used to claiming that part of you, because it felt like such an irrational, like borderline arrogant decision for me to make, you know, in my head, just because of where I was from. But that's not true. I had to get used to saying, yes, my name is Marci Miller, and I want to my major is vocal performance, and I want to pursue like music and theater. And so that practice of getting to do that on the regular and getting used to it and learn and getting used to the fact that I could do it and I was talented was really crucial for me. And then the relationship building, you know, you realize it's sort of a team sport to be a creative person. It's a very team-oriented thing. And I remember the day, because I used to sing in Voices of Triumph, this little jazz vocal group.
I remember Voices.
Of course you do. But I remember the day that it dawned on me, like, wow, I like the sound of my voice as a part of this group so much more than I like the sound of my voice as a soloist. And that was a really cool lesson for me to learn. Now, granted, there are a lot of people who, you know, have amazing solo voices and should take that and run with it. But yeah, finding what your particular piece of the puzzle is in that whole, was good for me. And Bethel was a great place for me to practice it. So.
Right. I love that you brought up the whole mindset thing. A lot of young people are dealing with this, I can't, I'm not good enough, those types of things. Mm-hmm. And you came into college not even thinking about making this a career, from mm-hmm. I'm not sure to mm-hmm. I'm going for it. How long was that a mental process for you? What did you have any things that you would tell yourself regularly to just get yourself in that mindset?
You do have to sort of be your own best cheerleader to some degree. And, the day that my voice teacher just sat me down and told me those things, like a flip book, all of these moments of my childhood and my adolescence and high school, all of these moments of like deep affection for being a creative person, like flashed before my eyes. And I had this big realization. It's like, oh yeah, duh, this is who I am. How have I not allowed myself to claim it for myself? So what was the original? Do you remember what?
Well,
you
no,
asked
that
me?
was great. Like what you're saying, and this is the first thing that we go over is identity, right? So many people are pressured into college and pressured into these things. They don't even know who they are. Maybe you can even speak to that. You just said like owning who you are. Like that is the foundation for anything successful in an individual.
Totally. Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember what you said. And that too was another thing for me to realize, that it's actually the best thing that I can do for society and the people who are dear to me, to do the thing that I'm actually genuinely passionate about and really talented at, because that's the way that I get to contribute my unique thing to the people around me. You have to be your own cheerleader and realize you can do it, and there is a seat for everybody at the table. And it's really easy to come out here and feel like, come out here. You don't have to come to LA or New York to pursue a career in entertainment of any kind. There are audiences for it all over the country and all over the world. But I found that really not allowing myself to feel like I had to be anything else other than exactly what I am has served me really, really well. Because, you see you have this idea of what Hollywood is and what a Hollywood actress looks like and what they sound like and how they behave and what their personality is like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the reality is the times that I have tried to fit into boxes other than my own are the times I didn't get the job. And even when I think about my audition for Days of Our Lives, I showed up and there were it was me and 10 other girls. And I remember feeling sort of insecure in that moment because, it's a lot of like model tall with these like perfect bodies and this perfect hair and makeup. And I'm kind of like dorky girl from the Midwest. And I love myself and I love what I bring. But I remember having to sort of climb that mountain within myself on that day and say, look, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to do what I do and I'm going to do it the best that I can. And I'm just going to leave it all on the table and let it speak for itself. And it's the best thing I could have done. Let's just go in there and use my own unique voice.
Right.
So I'm just vamping. I'm just talking.
Right. Good.
I don't know if I answered your question. I don't know if I remember your question, but I'm talking.
I love it. Well, that's such a huge thing, is that your authenticity. I was actually reading reviews and like watching people's videos about you. So we just love so much how Marci is just so authentic and she comes across so authentic. But that's because you have this identity. You said, I am who I am. I'm amazing. And I'm going to go and show the world what I can do. And even up against, a lot of young people are going to be saying, like, even in business, like, oh, I can't compete with that guy. I mean, that guy knows business. Well, no, when you're your authentic self, you have this confidence about you and you win.
Yes. And people that is so clear. It is so black and white for people. When you walk into a room, it's so easy to tell who is genuinely passionate and interesting and hardworking. I mean, the people who are there for the right reasons. And yes, it's Hollywood, and yes, it's business, and yes, it's entertainment. But at the end of the day, people really do want to work with real, talented people who show up on time, are reliable, and want to do the work, And so that's one thing I would say to sort of punctuate the fact that there is a place for everyone at the table. And there's no rhyme or reason or recipe to success in this. You just got to really, really love it, know that you love it, and be in it for the long haul, and know that, sometimes it takes people 2 years, sometimes it takes people 10 years. And it's a gamble sort of when all of the pieces will fall together. But in my experience, the people who are in it for the right reasons, it always falls into place at some point. And I moved out here, I've been out here for 10 years now, and I waited tables for over the first half of it. You know, I was flinging burgers and doing the whole hustle, donating my plasma like crazy, you know, just to keep
But that's also part of the actor's dream.
It totally is. It totally is. And you gain such an appreciation for the point of arrival, you know, to be able to turn my little apron in and fold it up and say, thank you, I don't need this anymore. And
Right.
to be able to then do this thing full time has been cool. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that next part then. So you studied film masterclass at Baron Brown Studio. So you went from Bethel, and then you thought, okay, what was the transition from Bethel to that like?
So after Bethel, I moved to Louisville, Kentucky for a couple of years, and sort of just started jumping into the theater scene, trying to figure that out. And it was a grind, you know, you don't know, there's no recipe. So I'm just auditioning and doing things. So I did some theater and waited tables with a gentleman who was from Los Angeles, who was an actor, and he came and saw my show. And it was the same situation as with my voice teacher. He saw my show and said, you got to go to LA. And I'm like, what? Like, I've never even thought of going. That's not even on my road. Like, me in LA, like, I'm from North Liberty, Indiana. I graduated with a class of like 80 people. Like, this doesn't make sense. But he was pretty adamant and encouraging. And again, it was like a situation where someone had to give me permission to want that, to even admit to myself that I wanted that. And so long story short, we did it and we moved, and I got involved at a school. That was sort of his recommendation to start, and is always my recommendation to anybody moving into another city, or especially a market like LA or New York, is to get involved in a class of some kind, because you meet people, and there is the element of like, you know, who you know does matter. You know, I've definitely been hired by people that I've met in that class before, and that's not to say it's going to happen, but the more people you know, the better. But then also you get to continue to hone your craft and grow and learn what it looks like outside of wherever it is you grew up, whether you're moving to a big market like LA or you're moving to sort of a small, medium-sized market like Louisville. So that class, I took what is a Meisner technique. I studied a Meisner technique, which is a specific technique of acting. And it was a 2-year program. And within that program, they offered the film masterclass stuff. So learning, because, you know, there's theater and then there's film, and there's sort of two different animals to tackle. And I learned that I was a little bit better suited to the film stuff. It's a little more subtle. It's a little more nuanced. Both require, like, both people can do both. It's not like you are this or this. People can do both, but that just happened to be where my particular natural ability lied. And I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know any of that. And to come out and take the class, going back to this thing of identity, was such a profound experience for me, and one of the best things I've ever done, because all of a sudden I was in a room with people from all over the country for the first time, complete strangers, and you go up there and you sort of bare your heart, you bare your soul, and in doing that in front of people, that's one thing I love about being an artist and being a creative person, is that you discover these things about yourself all the time. And it's really a career path of choosing constant self-discovery to some degree, and I geek out about, like, I love learning about people and observing people and all that stuff. That's one of the reasons I do what I do. So that is always my number one recommendation, is get involved in a class, because it's also helps to have the support of other people who are in your same stage of the game too. Because some of my best friends of my life are from that first class at the Joanne Barron School. Yeah, there's a bond that gets made there because you experience each other's wins, you experience each other's losses, you know, and you witness who they are in such a unique way. It's like, you're showing me who you are by not even having a conversation with me. You're just performing, and I can see elements of you that I would otherwise miss. So it's such a beautiful experience for yourself and for a career path, because you get to know folks.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a big part is networking in that realm, huh?
Yeah, and that's intimidating for me because I can be a little introverted, and you know, I am not the girl that's like gonna get dolled up and go to a Hollywood party and try to like schmooze and network, et cetera, et cetera. And you can be made to feel like that's the way things are done, but it's not true. Again, I really have clung so tightly to being yourself and allowing who you are and what you can do really speak for itself, because it says a lot. It really does say a lot. And knowing people is great, but my networking has always looked like, okay, I got a job, even if it's a little dinky indie thing. Because when you first get started, they say, take whatever job gets offered to you, you know, big, small, whatever. Because you want to develop a reel and you want to get to know people and start developing a reputation for yourself. And so that was the mentality I went into everything with. Just go, be on time, be prepared, do the work. And that's easy because I love it. So that was very easy for me to do.
Right. I think a lot of people actually, to make it, right, it's just this viral video, you know, or something like that. And I keep hearing you say it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of this. It was a lot of that. So it's not just this dreamy, hey, yeah, let's just, once you get in there, someone's going to notice you. And, you know, it's not that. It's hard work, which, what were some of the most difficult times you had? Were there any moments where you thought, I'm out? You know?
Yeah, there definitely were, you know, because you come to this thing with a version of the dream, you know, and the number of people who get to experience their exact version of the dream, you know, that's very few. There are sacrifices that get made along the way. There are things that get put on the back burner and maybe come around toward the end, you know, and unfortunately finances are a very real component of everything. You've got to be able to pay your bills. And, you know, I have a lot of friends who sort of resisted having that job, having a means of having an income, because they wanted to be able to identify as an artist. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I totally understand that. But you can be an artist and still meet the demands of your life at the same time. And what I found, you know, the times when I didn't have a job and was sort of gigging it, you know, waiting, you know, making my money gig to gig and waiting for the opportunities to come across my table, my level of stress was so much higher, and it was so much harder for me to enjoy what I was doing, because, you know, I'd go in and audition for these things and think, ooh, I got to get this job. Otherwise, you know, there's not going to be food on the table tomorrow. I mean, and it wasn't quite to that degree, but, yeah, the job is, I always had a job, and it freed me. It gave me freedom to feel like, okay, I know my bills are going to get paid, and then I get to do this other thing on the side. So, yeah, again, I don't remember what the original question was, or if I answered it, I'm vamping. I'm just gonna go.
That's good. But okay, I think that's a very valuable thing, because a lot of times with creativity, fear kills creativity. Pressure can kill creativity. And so to have that financial weight off of you, like you said, just work, my bills are paid, now it's time for me to be creative. So you've been in quite a few short films and full-length films, and I'm not going to just list them all here. You can look her up on Wikipedia. How many people can say they have a Wikipedia? How cool is that?
Dude,
so
yeah.
What were some of your favorite, I want to say, what was for the people watching, what was one of your favorite things, your favorite roles, your favorite thing that you were in?
Yeah. I always go back to this one, like, you know, I'm doing the whole Days of Our Lives thing. We got all these movies. I've gotten to like travel and do really cool things that I've been really grateful for. My favorite thing and favorite character I ever played was a 19-minute short film called Dog Bowl. And it's just this quirky, bizarro character, this great writer-director, Gordy Hoffman, who just has a really unique brain. That's the one thing I feel like I did that is my particular taste, because, you know, like I said, you have a version of the dream that you imagine. And I think if I could do anything, I'm sort of that quirky indie girl, you know, those are the things I really genuinely love. But I've sort of landed in this Days of Our Lives, like soap opera kind of thing, which is great too. And I really enjoyed that. But I played Deborah in Dog Bowl, and that film did really well for we went to Sundance and got to travel around a lot and promote that. And, yeah, it was just creatively so satisfying beginning to end. Dog Bowl. Yeah.
Dog Bowl. See it
That's
today.
It. Yes.
So I have to ask a little bit about your experiences in Days of Our Lives. What are some elements that you just love so much about being in a soap opera?
Yeah. Never a dull moment. I'll tell you that. From a story standpoint, soap opera is such a unique animal because everything is always at the height of the meaning. It is high drama all the time. So it is a challenge, a huge challenge. But you realize what you can and cannot do very quickly. You learn a lot about yourself, and it is unlike anything I've ever done. Hands down, the hardest work I've ever had to do. They shoot at an exponential rate. Most films and television shows, they'll shoot 5 pages of a script in a day. Soap opera shoots over 100 in a day. So it's not unusual. I mean, I've had days where I had to go home and learn 70 pages to come in and film tomorrow, you know, like wow. That's not every day. I would say the average day is 20 to 30, which is still a lot, huge. So I have appreciated the challenge, and I have appreciated what it has allowed me to learn about myself. The people there are amazing, you know, like I love my coworkers, again, some of my best friends in the world. And soap is a unique animal also in that it sort of operates like a 9-to-5 job, you know, so I'm there at, 6 a.m. and I'm done by 4, usually, if not earlier. You know, you go in and you do the work and you're out, which is great. So if people want to have like a family, there's a lot of people with kids and all that sort of thing. It's a very reliable thing. But I love so much of it. I love the absurdity of it. I love just the over the top, I have these bird's eye view moments where I look down at myself and say, oh, you're really gonna walk over to that woman and yank her wig off and smack her across the face, and then it's just absurd. And the answer is yes, I'm gonna go do that.
That's right.
And it's a great time. It's a great time. So yeah.
That's awesome. Have you developed some just really great friendships in that?
Some of my best, yeah. There's Sal Stowers, she's been on the show for a while. She's, just one of my best friends, and Billy Flynn, this is a gentleman. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful people on that show. I've been so lucky. And my mother watched this show when I was really young. So I remember being in high school, running home to watch certain storylines here and there. And so I remember there's a woman named Deidre Hall who's been on the show for literally 40 some years. And my first day walking in, and she was 2 seats down from me in the hair and makeup chair, just, having a little bit of a geeky, high school moment where it's like, oh my gosh, that's Marlena, So it was really fun to get to say, feel like, oh, we're on the same show. That's crazy. Okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It's like coming in and seeing Michael Jordan for a young person. Be like, I've watched you play since I was a kid, right?
Totally. Yes. Yeah.
So I guess that comes to a good question is you've made a lot of friends and a lot of peers that are also very encouraging to you. Do you also have a mentor of sorts?
That's a good question. Do I have a mentor? I would say I guess I don't think of this person as a mentor. I have a manager is sort of the person who helps me oversee my career and sort of helps me to say yes when I should say yes, and helps me to say no when I should say no. I haven't thought about him as a mentor, but he is. He is more of business mindset, but totally understands. He's a producer as well, so he understands the creative aspect of things. And wants to genuinely take who I am as an individual into account and says, okay, what does Marci want her career path to look like? Yeah. And so that's a really cool relationship. And I would say even if you don't have a manager, whether it's a teacher or somebody else who is, in the business as well, I've had people who were moving out who reached out to me, and I've sat down with them. Whoever you can reach out to and gain information and experience from I definitely recommend that. So, and there was one guy also who I used to wait on. His name was William Maypother, who introduced me to the school and has sort of take me under his wing in some ways. So yeah, I did have a mentor and a manager that helped me. So, because it's great to just have somebody you can ask questions, and because there's a million questions and you can't possibly have them all answered in one sitting. And so, it's important to feel like there's somebody you trust, that can help you answer those sorts of things.
It's huge. It allows you to be just the creative.
Totally.
It gets the business side off your mind so you can just create.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. So do you have like a bucket list of like, what would be the epitome for you? Like, would you want to be playing in lead actress in like some film about this, or what in that realm, what would be a bucket list for you?
Oh yeah. Let me think. Well, there are two actresses, Cate Blanchett and Meryl Streep are like the two OGs for me. Like, I love them and have loved them for a very long time. I love the kind of work they do. I love the caliber, I like their acting. I love who they are as people on top of all of that. And so I would say like some kind of really dope period piece, like in a gorgeous, like in New Zealand or someplace amazing, doing some big high budget thing, like that would be such a point of arrival with those two women, or even just one of them, but to do both of them together, that would be such a point of arrival for me. That's sort of like the big dreamy things. But then on a more like, I guess something that could happen now, I have a desire to definitely direct. I've been writing and directing is something that I've sort of been tossing around for the first time, and have, right before all this Corona stuff started, had sort of completed my first feature script, and that was not for me to direct, but was for somebody else to direct and for me to play in. And so that was exercising another part of myself. That was really cool. And also I have on a bucket list, so, I have the desire. Theater is my first love in a lot of ways. And I know that I am more naturally capable. My natural abilities are in line with the film and television stuff, but I miss the theater. And so I would really love to do that. And I'm getting ready to move to Colorado. And so I'm going to be traveling back and forth for work a lot for days. But I'm really interested in seeing what Colorado has to offer in the theater world in some way, once the Corona stuff sort of dies down. I would love to get back into that, because there's just something about, whether you're a musician or an actor or whatever, there's something about that live performance that is just, it's just palpable, the exchange that takes place between a person that's on stage and an audience member. And it's sometimes hard to describe, but I have it as an audience member watching somebody else, and I have it as the performer watching the audience. And so there's something inexplicable that takes place that I really enjoy and miss. So yeah, those things: writing, directing, getting back into theater, and then huge production with Meryl Streep and Cate Blanchett. That's my bucket list so far.
That's huge. So yeah. I know a lot of my students are going to want to know, it sounds so stupid, but I have to ask it. Who are some famous people that you've met that just blow your mind?
Yeah, for sure. Oh no, that's not a dumb question at all. If we're talking met, I met most people waiting tables and waiting on them. That's for sure. Because I kind of for a while worked at a swanky restaurant in the Ritz-Carlton. And man, I met some doozies, and it's so cool. Because the August Osage County, which is a film that came out several years back, but Meryl Streep was in that. So I got to meet her, and it was on the heels of doing Dog Bowl, and the writer-director of Dog Bowl knew Meryl. So I got to sort of say, hey, Gordy Hoffman says hi. We got to have a little chat a little bit about it. And I remember she patted me on the back and said, well, I wish you all the best, like good luck to you, et cetera, et cetera. She had spilled her martini, and I'm like mopping up her martini. It was this classic, like gonna want to be actress, and such an actress who's arrived, you know. It was such a cool moment for me. But I remember when she patted me on the back, I thought that was so amazing. So Meryl Streep, I met her and waited on her, waited on Jim Carrey, waited on George Clooney, and then I remember this one table in particular was Tobey Maguire, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Bill Clinton all together at one table. And all I remember is it was one of those days, because you have days in your waiting tables where you're just going in to do the job, and so you're not like put together, which happened to be one of those days. And you have days when you're like coming from an audition, so you've got all your makeup on, et cetera, et cetera. But I found out I was waiting on Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was an I'm not put together day. And so I just remember making my friend let me borrow her red lipstick and put it on really quick before I went over there. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to witness these people, because I don't know. There's something about these like superstar people. You could see it from across the room. Like if someone was taking still photos of that table of Bill Clinton, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Tobey Maguire, and if I was just taking still photos and said, who is the superstar at this table, it was so clearly Leonardo DiCaprio based on his physicality. It was just, I don't know, fascinating thing to watch. But yeah, Obama came in for, just crazy people you meet, because it's LA, and so these people are here on a regular basis. So it's really fun. It is fun, even as a person who's here. And yeah, that's never a silly question. I enjoy answering it because I feel like I have cool answers, and that's really fun. So
it's nice to have cool answers. My favorite thing about what you just said, it wasn't even in show business where you met these people. It was working your butt off to get it done. That's where you got to meet all these amazing people, right?
Totally. And they always have some sort of like, you don't walk up to them and say like, hey, I want to be an actor. You got any tips, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, you do your job well and you're genuine. And at some point, there's always an opportunity to be able to express like, respect for somebody, or like, Jessica Chastain. I met Jessica Chastain, and who is also an actress that I really, really admire. And I was able to say like, hey, I just want you to know I have so much respect for you and the work that you do. Thank you. I learned from it. It inspires me, et cetera, et cetera. And so I find that kind of an expression goes over well, because it comes from a genuine place. So, right. And they appreciate hearing that too. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you the general basic question that I know that your creative mind is going to just explode with this one.
Okay.
What advice would you give a young person that wants to make it in art and acting?
I mean, honestly, the number one thing, do it. First of all, do it. Like, claim it for yourself and do it, and just jump full in. Like, jump full in, go to class, and whatever you can do. I heard Jessica Chastain say this in an interview one time, and it really helped me. She said, do something every single day that reminds you that you're an artist, because it's easy to come out and be doing this hustle thing, and you're waiting tables and you're exhausted and you don't have time to write or do these things that you want to do. But if you can find a time every day to, even like 30 minutes, whether it's reading a play, listening to some kind of music, like experience every day art, that thing that sort of fills you up because it reminds you of who you are and what you want. And that helped me, because the journey is laden with hardship. It just is. It's laden with frustration and setback, and you get told no 90% of the time. And that's just something that you have to accept. And so you got to figure out ways to keep yourself built up and not let other people's no be the way that you experience or identify with yourself, because just because they said no doesn't mean you are a no. You know,
Right.
you are still a yes, even if somebody else says no. So yeah, and you can, and it's a business where you can walk in the room and literally be the most talented person there and still not walk out with the job. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's just because, you know, they can't have somebody playing the lead woman who's 6 inches taller than the lead man, or like your hair is the wrong color. Like that is a very real aspect to this business, because can be a very visual medium. It is a visual medium as well. So yeah, do something every day that reminds you why you love it and who you are in it. And yeah, just chase after it, and don't let other people's opinion or what other people say to you alter what you think of yourself and who you believe yourself to be within that. I mean, I've definitely had times where I sat down with a producer woman who told me I needed to dye my hair and have some plastic surgery and do things, et cetera, et cetera. And it's bogus. It's not true. You have so much to offer, exactly who you are, from your little tiny small town, from wherever it is, in whatever market you want to be in. I really am super passionate about people actually doing what they really love, because it's the way you get to present the best version of yourself to the world. So
I love that. I was actually going to talk to you and ask you about that, the pressures of what people might be saying you have to do, even to your body, to be able to make it in this realm. But over and over again, what you're saying is authenticity, confidence, and doing the job the right way. I mean, it's just so cool.
That is it. And that is all I have done. I have not done anything any different than I've ever done for anything I've worked for, whether it was college, whether it was, you know, waiting tables, whether it's like being a good student, anything. I've taken who I am as a person and my work ethic and plugged it into this environment. And because it's the only way I know how to operate to some degree. Like, you know, I can't pretend to be something that I'm not for myself. Right. And you would burn out being anything else and operating any other way. So.
Well, that's one thing I do remember about you for sure, even in college and even after my wife and I went on our honeymoon, went to your hotel where you were waiting tables and working at the...
Yes!
We came in, found the bottle of wine, and I don't even know if in person I was even able to thank you for putting that all together for us.
No, I forgot about that until this moment. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't think we were able to connect in person, which it's like, yeah, no, but yeah.
But thank you.
People feel good. No, of course. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
And that's a big part of what I want to say is like, it's going to be very hard for anybody to find a more authentic, caring person. And when people say that you have to be a certain way to get into Hollywood, you have to be this way and shrewd and this and that, it's just not true. You can be authentic and you can be caring and loving, and you don't have to sell out to anything. I think you're just like the epitome of that kind of person to all these young people who are also thinking about doing it but don't want to have the pressures or are falling into the pressures of being that kind of a person. But just for them to know, like, you can be the lead actress on Days of Our Lives and be exactly who you are. And I love that.
No, thank you. Well, and likewise, thank you so much for having a platform where I'm able to express that, because it is something I'm passionate about. Because you see it, you come out here and you see people who can kind of lose sight of themselves and lose sight of what they really want. And yeah, that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to witness, because it just doesn't have to be the case. And yeah, whatever I can do to encourage people to jump and go for it and do it in their unique way is I'm all for it.
Right. And I have seen people change when they've gone from hometown to Hollywood. And I can, even just from this conversation, like, nothing's changed about your heart and your personality. After all these years, nothing's changed. You are still just the authentic person. I want everybody, just like who's going to be watching this, just to know, like, that's a realistic thing. You know, that is a genuine thing. You can be wherever you want and still be this loving, caring. You don't have to change who you are to become this thing. I love it. No. That's one of my favorite things about this interview is being able to tell you that.
No, thanks. Oh man, that really means a lot to me, because I am passionate about it. So it does mean a lot. Thank you.
Good. Well, let's go ahead and close up the interview. Marci Miller, thank you so much for being here. This has just been, being wherever you are and me being over here, for being on the call. This has just been very special just to catch up to. It's been very cool. So thank you so much for doing this.
Of course, same. Thank you. It's such a great opportunity. And yeah, anything, anytime you need. And if anybody has questions, like even if people have questions at some point, feel free to forward those. I'm more than happy to answer via email, via video, whatever. I'm happy to be a resource as much as I can.
Maybe we'll fly you out and you can do a workshop.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.